Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
That was very crispy, I feel like.
Were you ever in a choir growing up?
Yeah. Like at school.
Yeah.
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 What part did you sing? Wait, let me guess. Bass.
You're so mean.
That's not mean. That's such a skill for women who can sing bass.
I can't even tell if you're joking.
No, I'm being serious. There's not a lot of women who can sing the bass part.
We didn't really do like bass, alto or soprano.
What's that Christmas song that goes bom 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 bom? Can you try and sing that?
A rapper pum pum. That one.
Yeah.
Da, na, na, na,
And then like the
na,
bass comes
na,
on. Bom bom bom.
Little drummer boy.
Anyways, yeah, I was in the choirs as well.
What
Soprano. What were you?
I just said they didn't
Oh,
really.
sorry.
It was more like primary school singing away in a manger. Do you know what I mean?
Sorry. Okay, yeah.
Not so much
Wait,
like
so did you not do it at secondary
harmonies.
school?
Yeah.
Because that is where it
Yeah, I
gets
did.
a bit more.
I did, but I just can't remember it ever being too complicated.
No, I remember distinctly 4 parts
Yeah,
of the
because
choir.
you went to a posh school. Probably had like
What
a
is
choir
it?
master or something.
Soprano,
Soprano,
something,
alto,
tenor, and
tenor,
bass. Oh my
bass.
Right, let's just quickly both sing the lowest note we can do. Okay.
You go first.
Okay. Okay. Oh.
You're like,
Why am I making that noise? Sorry, like. Okay, now you do it.
Wait, if you get like, I don't think that's a note.
I feel like that's the same pitch as me.
You get that.
You're higher than me, I think. Anyway. You can carry on doing that for ages. What's everyone's favourite Christmas carol? That's what I want to know. What's yours?
Tide. Sorry, I've just spat on the microphone.
Oh.
It's spit on there. Joy to the World or Oh Holy Night. I think it is probably
Beautiful.
Oh Holy Night.
Yeah.
Just it's when it hits that.
But also whenever you hear it
Gets me,
performed
man.
as well, it's just always like that one is just always elite because
Yeah.
of all the high notes. Anyways, guys, let's jump in. We have actually already recorded this episode and we're having to film it again because the whole thing was out of focus. So absolute hashtag commitment from us.
Yeah. But that's just the life of
Blood, sweat and tears went into this one,
of
guys.
a podcast extraordinaire.
Yes. All right, let's jump in then. What is this week's topic on, Soph?
We're back. We're back talking about the 20s.
The 20s, baby.
Because if you didn't know, we are in our 20s.
Yeah.
So we've got,
Both still 24.
yeah, bit of experience, bit of personal, can't think of the word.
Personal testimony.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So the topic and the title for this week's episode is, it's not just you that feels like everything is changing in their 20s.
Today, we are
Everything's
talking
changing.
about change.
Spinning around, up and down.
Like we said, we've already filmed an episode on the 20s where we spoke a bit more generally. But today, we want to dig into change.
Yes,
Because the 20s, I would say, are a decade of change.
they are.
Marked by change.
In the words of Justin Bieber, I'm going through
Changes.
changes.
Gosh, really in a singing mood today, aren't we?
We're going through changes.
But this might be, as in, also, that's quite a generalised statement. Obviously, there can be lots of change in your 30s, 40s and 50s.
I'm sure
60s,
we'll find
70s,
out. I'm
80s,
sure we will
90s.
find out.
But,
10 years' time, we'll be recording
yeah,
the 30s episode.
change in your 90s.
Changing your night. Oh, God.
No,
It's like
but
all our friends are dying. It's horrible.
typically, though, maybe in your 30s, generally, some people, some may have more of an idea of what they're doing, where they're living. Things look a little more settled, generally speaking.
Yes.
Whereas the 20s, I feel like, are, for a lot of people, marked by a lot of unsettling, changing, whether that's changing job, house, friendships, moving, like all these different things that often take place in your 20s. And, you know, being nearly in our mid-20s, I think we've experienced a fair amount of change and we want to talk about it.
Yes, we do. So we've kind of broken this episode up into 3 subsections. So we're going to be talking about friendship, living and kind of geographical change.
Yes.
And then work.
Yes.
So
I think we start with living.
Okay.
Because as you were saying the other day, so how many houses have you lived in the past years?
Well, it's the same for both of us. So we moved to Birmingham 6 years ago in 2017. And yeah, both lived in 6 different houses, flats within the 6 years that we've been here.
Flip.
So we're just nomads, really. Just go where the wind takes us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because we came for uni, that's kind of a guaranteed.
Yeah.
You are probably going to move. I mean, some people don't, but you often end up living in a different house each year. First year, you're in student accommodation, then you move into a house, then probably another house. So that is just kind of part of the uni experience, isn't it?
It is.
But then since then, again, we've just continued moving.
It's been chopping and a changing.
And it's quite a lot.
Yeah. I think as I was reflecting on having lived in all these different houses, something that I do struggle with sometimes is just that feeling of not being able to fully put roots down in the place that you're living. And that could just be as simple as buying a painting to hang on the wall. But you know where you're just like, even for me, I don't want to accumulate all this stuff because I know that I'm probably in a year's time going to have to move again. So to make my life easier when I have to move house. And in some ways that's great because it's like not buying loads of stuff and have loads of clutter. But equally, I think there's some things, I don't know, you get to a certain age where I'm like, maybe I would like to buy a nice vase for the kitchen. But it's not my kitchen because at the moment I actually live with a family, which I actually love. That's the thing. I actually really enjoy it. But there are those moments where you're like, but it's not my house, is it?
Yeah.
It's someone else's house.
Yeah.
And also I'm probably going to move out of this house. Well, I'm not going to live here forever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think it's just the thing of sometimes you have to move when you actually probably wouldn't have, i.e. if you live with housemates and you get to the end of the year and they are moving or they're changing jobs or they're going elsewhere. I think that's also where it can feel quite unsettling because there could be times where you see yourself settled in a city and you're enjoying your job and you love the living space that you've got. But then because you are living with friends or sometimes with just random other people or you're sharing accommodation, you don't really have control over how long you can live there.
Yeah.
Because it's not just up to you. Like you either, obviously you can find people to replace housemates that move out. But again, it's just the stress of like, it's not just your space that you can have for as long as you want.
But even just the fact that, I mean, if anyone at 24 has managed to get on the property ladder and actually, buy a house, then kudos. Good for you.
Kudos.
Kudos.
Where is it kudos or kudos?
Kudos.
Kudos to you.
But I think inevitably when you're renting,
yes,
you're not going to be anywhere for too long.
No.
I don't know many people who have rented the same flat for 10 years.
Yeah.
Or, even with that, you're not, you couldn't go, I'm going to paint this wall this colour and I'm going to change all this stuff. You're very much kind of feeling as though this is someone else's space that I'm living in for the time being. So I can't really change anything. Can't make myself too at home because either, like I said, my housemates are going to leave or I'm going to move. Yeah, it just doesn't feel that settled.
Yes.
Is what I would say.
And I think your home environment ultimately is a big part of like you feeling settled.
Yeah.
Like home is where you come to rest and like feel safe and all those different things. And I just think sometimes where it's changing so much or even where you're living somewhere you can't be fully present because you're going to have to move again or whatever it is, I would just say I think that's part of the 20s that can be quite challenging.
Yeah. And even I've just thought now the kind of situation where, I don't know, let's say you move to a new city, you don't know any people, you go on some kind of random website where it's like flat share, end up living with a stranger essentially. It's the same when you go to uni, just living with strangers. But again, that is unsettling. You're living with someone that you don't know at all. And so, like you're saying, your home is supposed to be this place of rest, but then you're kind of coming home and you maybe don't feel that rested because you don't know the person that you're living with and you're having to adjust.
Well, you don't get on with them.
Yeah. And I do think that is often, like I said, it's not just in the 20s that happens, but I have a lot of friends who have been in situations where they're living with housemates or people that they've found online because they need somewhere to stay, and it's gone a bit weird. And it's just, your home's probably not feeling like the most relaxing, peaceful place.
Yeah. But I do think as well, it is this tension with the 20s. And I think I said this before, but I can imagine one day if, I am in a fortunate enough position to have my own house or to be a bit more settled or whatever that looks like, you will probably look back at this time and go, wow, the variety, and like, oh, I got to live in that flat, and then I got to live with these friends, and then I got to, live in this area. And then obviously once you've then settled a bit more, you probably have the opposite problem of feeling like, oh, it's just, I like, you might not, but just feeling a bit like, oh, I'd love a bit of variety, or oh, I want to mix up the house, or I don't know. So I think it's this constant tension just generally anyway with the 20s of like not wishing it away, where I think where you're in a different season of life, you'll probably look back and think, oh, even though that was challenging, it was really fun. So it's that tension of trying to embrace it and be like, oh, I'm not going to buy a house right now, so I could go and live there and try that, and view it as almost an exciting thing to be doing rather than falling into the like, oh, this is so stressful, which I know I often can do.
Yeah, that's so true. I think that's just generally a great kind of way to view the 20s though, isn't it? Of just, it's a period of your life which is quite unique in a lot of ways, and you get to do a lot of stuff that you might not be able to do, or life circumstances might change, which mean things aren't as spontaneous or kind of free-flowing, and you probably will miss that.
Yes.
And so, try not to just...
wish it away.
Yeah.
And then friendships, gosh.
They all kind of interlink, don't they?
Yeah.
With houses changing...
Friendships
often
changing.
It means friendships changing.
Yeah. I mean, if you live with your friends.
Yeah. But even I guess if you don't, it could just be the fact that you've moved away.
Yes.
And you're now having to
create
new friendships, and even the thing of watching old friendships continue while you've stepped away.
Yeah.
That's really difficult. But it's just, it can feel so exhausting, I think, sometimes, where you feel like you're just hitting the kind of point of, oh, I've got solid friendships, we're going deeper, feel like I've really connected with these people, I really trust them. Oh, I'm leaving. Oh, I'm moving here.
It's like, oh,
okay,
not again.
Cool, start again. Never mind.
I think the biggest thing with the 20s and friendships is everyone is working things out, and everyone finds themselves in slightly different life stages at different times. So I'm pretty sure we said this last time, but you can literally find someone who is single, I don't know, doesn't have really a base and is traveling around the world and, exploring. And then someone of the exact same age who has already bought a house, married, maybe a kid on the way, and is incredibly settled. And it's like there are two people of the same age living lives that look completely differently. So I think up until the 20s, where you've kind of journeyed pretty like solidly with friends and you've gone through all the same life stages at the same time, school, secondary school, maybe uni, maybe going into work, this is then like the decade where everyone just looks different and is doing different things.
Yeah.
And that therefore means that there's like no consistency really, or guaranteed like moving forward in the same life stages at the same times. So it is that thing of, you mix that in with everyone just trying to work out what they want to do and how they want to spend these years. And you basically end up with a group of friends all doing completely different things at different times. So it's like, how do you, I don't know, just deal with that change? And it again, it can just be really unsettling.
And I think that you've got the kind of obvious change of, like we were saying, a friend moving away. That's kind of, yeah, obviously our friendship's going to look different. But then, like you're saying, with all the kind of life stage, different points and where people are at, that could mean that someone's not even left the city that you're in. They've not even moved house, but your friendship starts to look different because, oh, when we met, we were both single, but now you've got married. So you're now living with your husband. You've got different time that you can kind of offer in different capacity. And so even though nothing's really on the outside kind of changed in terms, well, I guess something has changed, like they've got married, but in terms of like, it's not like, oh, I've moved to Newcastle. It's just that, oh, our lives still in the same city are really different now. Or, you know, even with me and you, where we still both live in Birmingham, but we've gone from living together to not living together. That's changed our friendship and means that there's been kind of different things that we've had to navigate where things have looked different and our time spent with each other is different. And so it's not even just the big kind of, oh, so-and-so's gone and, you know, they've started a new job and they've moved somewhere else. It's even just within the same city or with the same group of friends, there can just be all these kind of ups and downs of, yeah, it just feels really different a lot of the time with different people just because of what's going on in each person's life.
But I was just thinking even something as nuanced as like having slightly different jobs that demand different things of you, like someone being in a fairly chilled job or having, you know, more flexibility with their hours than, you know, one of their friends starts working a really demanding job that doesn't have a lot of flexibility. Like that changes how much you can see someone, like, and you know, means that the friendship ends up looking different, not because of any big life change, but just differences in working patterns.
Yeah. Or say your friend gets into a long distance relationship.
Yeah. Or just a relationship.
Yeah. Or just a relationship. But it means now, oh, actually, I'm traveling to London every other week because that's where my boyfriend is.
Yeah. Or I'm having to just split my time between more people. So,
yeah.
And I mean, I guess, it's just another, I was going to say that's not necessarily specific to the 20s, but I guess it also is where a lot of people do end up dating or going in again into different life stages. And it's like, oh, yeah, it just looks different.
Yeah. And I do think a big part of it as well is getting used to the adjustments because, I don't know, let's say you enter, like you were giving the example of work, enters into a certain kind of field of work in their 20s, but prior to that you were at uni together, hanging out every day, living together, but then they've suddenly got this 50-hour 60-hour week job. They're just going at it the whole time, and you've gone from, we used to live together, do everything together, and now I can barely even see you at the weekend, but you could still be living in the same city. It's kind of like you're adjusting to that initial change of, we were in this stage of friendship together and now our lives look different. So it's kind of feeling very different. But I feel like if you go more into the 30s and beyond, that has maybe settled down a bit because people are kind of maybe a little bit more set in, I don't know, I'm a doctor and I've been a doctor for 10 years. So you're used to having to kind of work your friendship around that. But when you're in that initial moment of, oh my gosh, we used to do everything and now we've entered the world of work.
Yeah. And I guess that's the same thing generally, just in terms of like when we're talking about change and, you know, friendships changing, ultimately it's all just about learning to kind of establish a new routine with that friend.
Yeah.
But, and like you can do that and you do that. And even where you're referencing you and I, we have done that. But I would just say that it's okay to find that process hard. Like some people love change, embrace it, you know, love to be constantly mixing things up. But I think for a lot of people, especially when it comes to relationships and just where you become used to having a certain relationship or friendship with someone and that becomes a big part of your life and your kind of security and they're one of the people that you can go to, when that is suddenly changed or almost ripped away from you quite suddenly, there is just a bit of a mourning period that comes with that, where it's okay to feel sad about the change and it's okay to find the adjustment hard. And you can know that obviously eventually you will adjust and your friendship will look different and you'll find a new routine or someone else will come into your life. And it's not like, you know, you'll just continuously lose friends until you have none. But it is okay in the meantime to find it hard and find it sad and grieve it almost.
Yeah. And I think the main thing is just being intentional. Like, if you still really want to maintain friendship with that person, you'll find a way to do it. You'll find a way to work around your different schedules or different living places or life stages. Like, if you are intent on being friends with someone and they're important to you, then I guarantee that if you both, you know, on each end are putting in the effort, you'll find a way to maintain the friendship. It will look different, but you can do it.
Yeah, 100%. And then I guess final area is like work and just all the changes that happen in your, and obviously, I mean, we've just chosen these 3 kind of areas. There are way more areas that are affected in your 20s, but work is a big one because I don't know about you guys, but everyone's just trying to work out what they want to do and what jobs they want to do and what career they want to pursue, or even beyond that, just what they're passionate about and what they enjoy and, you know, what they want to invest their time in and whether it is working or whether it's doing something else. Or I feel like the 20s are just that prime time of like trying to work work out what work's going to look like. And therefore there's a lot of change.
Yeah. And I do think you have a full spectrum of people that have known since they went off to uni, I want to be a dentist, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a doctor. A lot of those kind of more vocational degrees or courses that you can do where, you know, you're getting trained into a certain area of work. And those people, I mean, sometimes I really wish I was one of those people. Like my friend,
unfortunately, I'm not.
My friend is a midwife and she went to uni, studied midwifery, and she's going to be a midwife. Like, that's what she wants to do.
Sorted.
And I mean, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be change in hospitals that she's working in. But yeah, you've got the full spectrum of people that really know, I want to do this career and follow this career path, to I've got no clue and I'm just going to try 20 different things until I find what works best for me. So it's just really, and either way you're feeling the change, because I've got people that know, I really want to commit to this job, but then there's still change going on all around them because there's people that don't know if they want to commit to the job. So it's kind of, do you know what I mean? Where it's like, either way, you're kind of influenced by the change of people in the 20s age demographic.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when you are trying to work out what you want to do and you end up doing a job and then you realize, oh, actually, this isn't really a bit of me, it's very easy to feel like you failed, or to feel like that was just a big error and great, now you've got to go all the way back to the start and start again and try something else. And, you know, or you, I don't know, you feel embarrassed that it didn't work out when you're having to explain it to people and whatever. And I think like we've just got to try and remove some of that attitude where actually you're not taking a step back because it's a process of elimination, isn't it? Where it's like, actually you've worked out, do you know what? There probably were elements of that role, even if it wasn't related to the role, that I did enjoy and I've worked that out. And then there are elements that I just now fundamentally know I never want to do again. And I think sometimes we can just put so much pressure on ourselves to know and to work it out and to, you know, have almost finalized our career by the time we're like in our early 20s. And it's like, actually, it doesn't look like that for everyone. And like, I don't know why we feel like it has to.
Yeah. And I think it's that thing of, it's totally fine to try all these different jobs and different kind of go down all these different avenues, but it does mean that there will be a lot of change.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to try lots of stuff, then
you almost just have to embrace it.
And you just have to accept that, don't you? Because if you want to be able to do that, which I think is a really good thing, I actually saw in my we were looking through my old journals the other day and I found this big mind map that I'd done. And it was basically me like 2 years ago, like, what do I like doing? And there was honestly the most random stuff on there. Like, and I think I was just writing down anything that I found life-giving, that I enjoyed.
What was the roguest thing on there?
I'm trying to think now.
Sewing will have been on there.
Yeah, it was like sewing. It was like, just, I can't even remember the specific examples, but even just stuff like, I like hanging out with my friends.
Yeah.
Or I like connecting with people and having long conversations, or I don't know, whatever I'd written on there, where the most kind of, in some ways, simple things, but actually, I think at the time I was really just trying to work out what could be a job that would really fulfill some of these areas.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of areas which you can even write off and you think, oh, why would I do that? Because I've gone down this one path. And it's like, well, you could always just come back and go down a different path.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like you say, it's just learning to be okay with the change. I think that is the main point. Like, don't go into your 20s necessarily thinking, no, I will have like determined my career by the time I'm 22.
Yeah.
Like, for some people, that is the case. But instead, if you go in with the mentality of, I'm going to try a few different things and see how it goes, you don't set yourself up for the expectation of like knowing immediately, and then you don't feel like you failed.
Yeah.
Because you went in with a different expectation. And I saw this post, which basically just sums this up. And it was a guy speaking on a podcast, and he said, the point of your 20s is to try 12 different things and fail at 9 of them. Don't even worry about it or even try to have it all figured out. So many people end up struggling mentally because they didn't get their perfect internship over summer or get accepted onto their perfect grad scheme. But what if instead you viewed the 20s as a workshop stage? Maybe you'd be able to relax a little bit. And I think that kind of sums up pretty well what we were just saying in terms of like, view it as a workshop stage. Like, actually go into it thinking, I am just going to use these years to experiment and try new things and have a go at that, and then maybe work out I don't like that, or have a go at that, and embrace it and enjoy it, rather than becoming really frustrated when things don't work out or go exactly as you thought they would.
Yeah. Like I said, if you are going to view it as a workshop, then you kind of have to be okay with change. But yeah, I think it's also not looking at things in such like a linear way.
Yeah.
Where, okay, I've started this job and then I need to get like a promotion and I need to move up. And then if I was to leave, then I'm going back right down to the bottom of the ladder. I think that's kind of quite an helpful way to look at things, because it's viewing it as degressing. Is that a word?
Oh, what's that word?
You've progressed.
I don't know if that's the word. Unprogressed. No,
No, it's not that. Oh gosh, it's definitely not.
Degress.
Sorry, I'm just typing it in on my laptop.
Regressed.
Gosh, that makes me sound so silly.
No.
Regressed. Not regressed.
Yeah.
Regressed.
But you also just fundamentally haven't, because you've gained more experience.
Well, that's what I mean.
So how can you have regressed?
Regress. But I think it's more where you think, oh, I'm on the way up because I'm building a career in this one lane. So then if I was to change lanes, I'm going to go right back to the beginning of that process of having to move up the ladder. And it's like, in some ways, yeah, but also no, because like you said, you've learned something about yourself. You've gained information on what you like.
Yeah. Obviously, if you change field, it's like there's completely new skills to learn. But I think, I don't know, I just think we need to stop being so hard on ourselves.
Amen. Amen, sister.
Guys, change in the 20s.
Change is happening. And I mean, before we finish, would you say you have any kind of top tips on how you've helped manage change? Manage yourself in the midst of change?
I would say generally with change, I would try and embrace all the emotion that comes with change. I think the worst thing you can do when something changes is just to like power on through and kind of ignore any feeling that may be deeper down around the change. I think the best thing you can do, for example, when a friend moves away or something something just subtly changes in your life and you notice that that is having an impact on you, is actually just to take a moment, try and almost process it and feel the emotion that you feel around it. Because, you know, for me personally, like I do find change quite hard, or just particularly when it's like relational change, I can find that just quite unsettling. And I think the best thing that I've learned to do is actually just talk about it, feel the emotion, and then just be okay with the fact that it might be sad, and like just let my mind process that, you know?
I do know.
You do know. What about you?
I think one thing that just came to mind now was stop romanticizing the past. And I think often I know for me, when I'm in the midst of change, I can really think back to the good times and, wasn't life amazing then? And sometimes that is the case. And sometimes it is actually that the season you're in is really hard. But I do think that sometimes you can spend so much time looking at, you know, the past and what was happening before, that you are just not really being present in what's going on now and not looking for the good things in the moment that you're in. And so I think trying not to romanticize the past too much and trying to think, well, this is what's happening now. How can I make the best of it? Where can I look for the joy in it, the good parts? And I think similar to what you were saying, just allow yourself to process.
Yeah.
I'm quite a delayed processor, so I feel like change will happen and then it will take a good few months for it to kick in that, oh yeah, things are really different now.
Yeah.
And that can feel confusing because it's almost like that happened ages ago, so I shouldn't be feeling weird about it now because that happened 3 months ago. But that's okay. Like if you're delayed processing or you're a delayed processor, it's fine if the feelings come later on. That's all right. And just let them come.
Just got to roll with it.
Yeah.
That's very good. Don't romanticize the past, guys. Brilliant.
Live in the present.
Live in the present.
There we go.
And on that note, hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
The 20s is always a bit of a beast of a topic.
It really is.
And we will see you in our next one.
See you guys.
Ta-da!
Bye.